I'm Maddie Lee, coming to you from the Spectrum Center after the Thunder's 104-102 overtime win. This was a bizarre one. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander summed it up perfectly, where he said, it wasn't their prettiest win, but they got it. And sure enough, the Thunder, which has been getting into a habit of going down by 20 or at least 15 and then making it up, got up to a 16-point lead early in the game. Not all of that was their defensive effort. Some of it was, but the Hornets also just were not shooting well from three at all. They made 1 3 in the first half and stayed pretty much on that same pace for the rest of the game. So bad shooting night honestly, from three from both teams, especially from the Hornets. And then the Thunder's able to take advantage of that, get a bit of a lead, and then they let it slip away. The Hornets got out in transition a bit, and it got sloppy. The Thunder wasn't rebounding like they started the game out doing. And there were spurts where the Thunder was rebounding really well and really taking control of the game. But then the Hornets would come back and just chip away. And they finally tied it up and then took a lead in the fourth quarter. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was super clutch defensively. Had a couple of really key steals, forced a double dribbling call, and the Thunder was able to not quite pull off the win in regulation, but at least only let the Hornets force it into overtime. They go into overtime, and Chris Paul, who made some really clutch shots down the stretch, continued to come up clutch. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander continued to have those really good defensive possessions. And he's a guy who the night before had talked about, as a team, the Thunder hadn't brought up their defensive intensity early enough. But he said that he felt that of himself too. And tonight, that was really what's shown, his defense. You had Dennis Schroeder pushing through. He was questionable before the game with a toe injury, but was able to push through, played a ton. The bench was huge for the Thunder, especially early on in the game. After the first quarter, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the only starter who had scored, but the bench came in and really got that lead for them. Trailed off a little towards the end, but in that first half, the bench was huge. So Thunder come away with a win in the first game of this 2-game road trip. Next, Thunder's going to Toronto to play up in Canada in a couple of days, but first, a day off.